After nearly 4 years, a wealth of action, an array of crazy costumes, and best of all, an abundance of phenomenal actors giving Suzanne Collins' novels new life on the big screen, the Hunger Games franchise is finally coming to an end. So I wanted to look back over the most heart-in-your-mouth moments from the final film, Mockingjay Part 2. Obviously, spoilers ahead if you haven't seen the film already, and if that's you, I've got a non-spoiler review right here for you. Kicking off with number 5. Katniss hasn't even made it to the capital to confront Snow when she already finds her life under threat. She's trying to rally District 2's loyalists to the rebel cause, and let's just say they're not exactly down with what the Mockingjay has to say. It probably didn't put them in the best of moods that the rebels had just bombed them and caused a bunch of avalanches. And just as one District 2 man relents after putting a gun to Katniss's throat, another takes aim and hits his target. Thank goodness for that bulletproof outfit, hey? At number 4. Okay, so even if you haven't read the novels, just hearing Boggs tell Katniss that he's not going to let her die on his watch leaves you feeling that he isn't long for this world. And tragically, he's blown up just after Katniss and her squad survive an especially nasty gun trap, one of the many hellish hidden traps that make the capital itself feel like a big Hunger Games arena. But things go from bad to worse when the next pod kicks off with what in the movie looks like a shockingly real wave of liquid tar or crude oil that hits the courtyard like a tsunami, forcing Katniss and co to run for their lives to the top floor of a nearby building. Then most of them only just get away from that building before Snow's troops arrive and completely obliterate it. Talk about tense. Moving on to number 3. If you're not a fan of confined spaces, then Pollux's suggestion that Katniss and her crew go underground quite likely sent a shiver down your spine. And oh my goodness, when I saw Pollux crawl on his stomach through that tiny gap as they made their way through the tunnels, I swear I felt my stomach turn over. And as if the tunnels aren't creepy and claustrophobic enough as it is, there's also a load of lizard mutants thrown into the mix for some insanely heart-stopping scenes, which reminded me of both Aliens and the British horror movie The Descent. As for the look of those monstrous mutts, their design made me think of the sort of beasts created by Pan's Labyrinth director Guillermo del Toro. Watching Katniss and her squad do battle with those mutts in close quarters was quite something. There was Gale shooting them in the head and Finnick with his trident, to name just 2. Speaking of Finnick, the sound of his repeated screams for Katniss as he was beset by those mutts was really chilling. And what about Katniss putting Finnick out of his misery by detonating the hollow? Oh man. And at number 2, in Mockingjay Part 1 you could already see that President Coin was a cool and calculating cookie, but she took that to an horrific extreme in Part 2 when she tricked Katniss, Snow and the people of Panem into thinking that Snow was the one who dropped those exploding parachutes and bombed the rebel medics, when it was actually her. And like that wasn't enough, Coin declared herself interim president of Panem, and we all know how long her kind of interim would have lasted. Plus, she wanted to bring back the games. Just symbolic Hunger Games in lieu of barbaric executions, as she put it. But as Katniss realised, it was a case of plus ça change in Panem. In other words, all they'd done was to swap a white-haired dictator for a grey-haired one. So when the moment came to step up and execute Snow, Katniss chose to shoot her arrow into President Coin instead, freeing Panem from Coin's dictatorship before it really began and, at the same time, avenging Prim's death. And let's not forget Coin's attempt to kill Katniss as well, for example by sending a still traumatised Peeta out to the capital with Katniss's squad. Coin thought she was so clever, didn't she? And she was arrogant to the very last with her line, "May your aim be as true as your heart is pure." And at number 1, it was Katniss Everdeen's desire to protect her sister that saw her volunteer to take Prim's place when she was picked as District 12's tribute back in the first Hunger Games movie. And ultimately, it was that very personal desire that set Katniss on the road to become the Mockingjay, a very public symbol of rebellion against the capital. So what a terrible irony it was that in the end, Katniss could not save both the people of Panem and her own sister. And the whole way it played out was just heartbreaking. Beginning with Snow's offer of shelter to the refugees and their children, to his troops taking their kids away from them at the gates of his mansion, to the hovercrafts dropping little parachutes like the ones sent to tributes during the games. Except these parachutes were bombs, not medicine or food. To finally the rebel medics rushing in, Katniss seeing Prim calling out and walking towards her, only for a second wave of delayed bombs to go off, killing Prim and blowing Katniss backwards, turning her into a literal girl on fire. The whole thing was truly horrifying. Now, what are the moments that shocked you most in Mockingjay Part 2, and what are your favourite scenes in the movie? Tell me in the comments below. I've got a special video on the way with things you didn't know about the Hunger Games Mockingjay, and I'll add an annotation here once it's live. If you enjoyed this video, I really appreciate you liking and sharing it, and do subscribe for more videos like this, movie reviews and things you didn't know. Thanks for watching and see you next time, yippee-ki-yay movie lovers!